Mackie here, and welcome to the most important weekend in the history of League of Legends. No, not Worlds Weekend. That is just like a million miles away, of course. This is Championship Weekend, or notably Championship Sunday, because five regions are going to have their champions on this Sunday, and five first stand slots will be filled by the time the weekend is over. One from the LCK between D plus Q versus BF Fear X. I cannot believe those words were coming out of my mouth a couple of months ago. The winner of LCP, the winner of LEC, the winner of the LCS lock-in, and the winner of the CBLOL Cup. And all five of those region finals were taking place on the first day of March. So we're kicking off March Madness pretty much early, I guess. With the exception of LEPL, which is going to end on March 9th, but we'll probably have the qualifiers to the first stand pretty much sealed between like the winner of Gen.G versus, let's just throw it, BLG, I guess. It is time for me to answer some of your questions about this upcoming weekend for each region, and for me to answer them in the most logical way possible. So sit back, relax, and it's time for me to give you some spicy answers to my questions that I typed like about 2 minutes ago. First off, for the LCS, can anyone stop C9? Now, for anybody who don't know, or anybody who just watched David Shynock's The Pit video like I do, C9 is on their 2020 LCS Spring Tear, in which they have dominated the regular season, albeit, the LCS regular season in 2020 with best of ones and the LCS lock-in with best of threes is pretty much night and day. So you can say it with a little bit of grain of salt. But, but, that does not diminish the accomplishments of what C9 have done. And for the players who have been given the little bit of slack by so many of the community saying, oh, APA is going to be washed. He's not the best player from the Team Liquid team. Get rid of him. He's no longer good. And look what he did now. Blabber is just only smiting crabs. He's not a good jungler or anything. Well, look at him now. Oh, Vulcan, not a great support. Who needed as support like him? Well, look at Vulcan now. Oh, I will dominate. He's just watching streams and doesn't know anything about a League of Legends game. He's not good at coach. He's not going to succeed. Look at Dom now. See what I mean? Cloud9 players and the team just keep proving me wrong after wrong with dominated victory after dominated victory after dominated victory against teams to, let's be honest, were just not good enough to match D9's caliber anyways. That FlyQuest twice, I think nobody was expecting FlyQuest to do anything much in this particular tournament. Have you seen what happened against Team Liquid? Yeah, this young team is just not ready yet. And of course, Sentinels. Everybody loves Sentinels. And even I was picking Sentinels to even win the championship on my I don't want to overreact Bud kind of take. But now my take is aged so poorly that it needs to be like thrown away into the fire, I guess. The question is right now, can any of Team Liquid, Lion, and Sentinels again can at least not only face off against C9, but also at least make them bleed? To which I said, no, but there's a but there. The only team that can see them compete and challenge C9 is Team Liquid. I think this team is ramping up for what happened in the early parts of the season. You see Jose de Dodo having incredible performances, decent performances, not great, but decent performances, great. Yon put it up incredible performances. The only player that I don't feel like he's performing well is Core JJ, but that's a given, of course. And you can say that right now, Cloud9 are getting better and better with age. Now, of course, tomorrow will face off against Lion for a shot of making the finals. And I think you can say that Lion Team Liquid are in similar levels, of course. It's like your de facto championship game to a de facto championship game, in which you can say that whoever wins is going to be, and this is no disrespect to Sentinels in anything way, to face off against C9 in the finals. Now, if we talk about Sentinels here, I think Impact have been decent. I think Dark Winds have been great in the mid lane and all kinds of stuff. I think this team, Sentinels, are doing well. But I am not sure that if Team Liquid and Lion were to face each other, there is going to be like no chance for Sentinels to do well. Even though I wanted Sentinels to win the whole thing, I just don't see it beyond that. The question is, and the most important question is, can anyone stop C9 from winning the LCS split? Which I have to say, not even close. I think if C9 does not 3-0 in the finals, then all that it will be like a little bit of like, I'm worried about the C9 team. I'm really worried about the C9 team come international, but internationals are going to be a different thing come next week and the couple weeks to come. For now, this is probably like the C9 coronation of those dominant splits in 2020. The way they have been dominating games is incredible. The way they've been playing is clean. The way they handle themselves is amazing. I don't even remember a single bad C9 performance. Like, yeah, the only game they lost was against FlyQuest, but that was more like C9 was dominating the league and kind of threw it away. And then the following game, game 3, was just absolute domination. So, beside the one bad performance by FlyQuest, C9 has been pretty good throughout the entire lock-in. To me, to think that I am not sure that any team can beat C9. So, to answer the question, will anyone stop C9? No. But only if TL goes. But only if TL Law, I'm just going to call the full name, can challenge them. All right. Now we move on to question number 2 is, can anyone beat G2 in their plot armor? For anybody who don't watch my shorts, G2 have now made it to 10 straight LEC finals. Let me say that again. G2 have made it to 10 straight LEC finals. That is impressive. Fnatic have not made it to the LEC in any. Fnatic have not made it to any LEC finals since 2008, while G2 have made it more LEC finals than Fnatic has in, like, I don't know, Worlds appearances. And in fact, they have made it to more LEC finals than like Mad Lions, Rogue, and maybe most of the teams combined. So for that to happen, it's a testament to how incredible G2 is and the way they ramp up this entire playoffs. Caps have been amazing. BB has been amazing. Skumon put up an absolute incredible performance against Koi, in which he once again tormented Elyoya and was man of the match by a mile. I seen like he got 26 kills, 27 assists, and like 7 deaths. That's impressive. Again, from Skumon, a guy who has been not so great in regular season form. And Labrov, who put up a decent performance. The only person that I said that he hasn't have a great split so far was Hans Sama, which I feel like it feels like a quiet split from Hans Sama, which, to be fair, Hans Sama has been more of the decent leveler guy, of course, putting up decent performances that feels like, okay, he's good, but never like the overarching reason why the team won. This year, I feel like he's kind of like the person who hasn't been the reason why they won. But in a one series, in a single series, it could change the narrative, of course. Because we seen a game from Caps that was oppressive. We seen a game of BB who was oppressive. We didn't see a series that Skumon would be impressive. Maybe this might be Hans Summer's time to put up an incredible performance to say that G2 not only has great individuals, but also collective as a unit. But the whole thing of G2 dominating the LEC just speaks of how bad the LEC has been. And I'm not talking about the viewership, in which they lost 6-7% of their viewership. Yes, I did the whole thing, of course. You can clip this thing and just meme me to death. But the fact that Karmine Corp and Koi just ran their mouths talking all that crap saying, we're the best team in all the LEC. We got the fan base. We got the players. We got the best support ever. We got Elyoya. We got the Spanish fans on our side. We got the French fans on our side. We're going to win this league. And to go up with no win. Although Karmine Corp was close because of that incredible base race, of course. But the fact you have no wins, like, it just shocks me, of course. Lost Retatones have more wins against G2 than Koi and Karmine Corp has in their entire playoff run. Like, that's just not good. Not good at all. And just pretty much saying that unless Koi and Karmine Corp has to step up, which, sad part about it is that one of these teams will have to face off against G2 on Sunday. barring, Giant X making an absolute run, which I think Giant X have been doing well in the LEC so far. I think Giant X have done well, but Giant X, you have to face off against what, three teams that have won the LEC last year in Carmen Corp, in Koi, and then in G2. That is a hard task to ask. Now, if you manage to do it and if you manage to pull it off, great. But that is a bridge too steep. A bridge too steep from Giant X. Impressive, but at least a bridge too steep. The question for both Carmen Corp and Koi, or would you say Carmen Corp or Koi, is that can these two teams can challenge G2? I think we can say that G2 can be challenged. I've seen G2 have a performances in regular season that make me question about G2's chances of winning the LEC split. Carmen Corp being so great in the regular season and Koi being okay in the regular season just makes me feel like, okay, those two teams can actually win. But the thing about playoffs is so far different than regular season. I think we can already say that regular season League of Legends is the worst thing to keep track of every single team. It's kind of like regular season baseball. Nobody gives a damn about regular season baseball. Although you can say that opening week of baseball is going to kick off in like a month, of course, and the Dodgers are pretty much the favorites by every single metric and money wise. But that's the point being is that regular season League of Legends is the most outlier thing, especially best of one, ladies and gentlemen. Like, best of one League of Legends is not going to be the be all end all of like how a team is measured. It's when we get to playoffs, best of series, fearless drafts, is where we've seen teams showing more flexibility like Del Falco has done, more creativity, more brilliant play, and G2 has that in spades. And the question is, will Common Corp and or Koi, or maybe Giant X, of course, can actually pull off the upset against G2 and kill off the plot number? Because we have seen G2 lose in finals. I have witnessed G2 lose in finals. It can happen. And with the crowd in Barcelona being a big factor, of course, for maybe Koi and maybe Giant X if they tried. But with a crowd being a factor, does it swing the outcome in favor of one of these teams? So just like Cloud9, I do not think that anybody can beat G2. I think G2 will win the LECs versus, of course. And anything big and anything, you know, less than that will be a failure. Well, not a gigantic failure, because let's be honest, nobody was expecting G2 to like run up the table, of course, in the playoffs. But if G2 does not win the LEC by their own standards, it is a failure to them. And it's up to Carmen Corp and Koi to just step up. I listen. I know Koi can step up. I know Carmen Corp can step up. I know that these two teams can step up and challenge G2. I will put them as no, or you know what? Let's just put maybe, maybe, but no. There you go. Now, let's get to the LCK. In which will this be the inevitable Gen.G domination? Like, let's be honest. First of all, let's congratulate Fearx and D plus Kia for actually being the brilliant winners of the T1 Collapse series, in which T1 played badly against you guys, and then, of course, the historic choke of D plus Kia, or let's just call it the historic comeback by D plus Kia over T1 in historic choking fashion, to which you guys are now going to be one series away from not only facing off against Gen.G in Hong Kong, to the sparse amount of people who are not T1 fans, who can't even get a ticket, of course, but we'll go with the first thing. And half you have told me that before the season started, you would have been a liar and a martyr and would be, burned on a cross for witchcraft. But it is happening. The bad part about it, or the sad part about it, or the worst part about it, is that they're going to get lost by Gen.G. Gen.G are on another tier right now. Gen.G has been dominated throughout the entire LCK Cup. They have not even allowed a game. Well, of course, they allowed a couple of games, but they have not allowed any series scores to drop. They have been dominated throughout the entire LCK Cup. And half they would have faced a T1 or a 100 Life Esports earlier on in the LCK Cup or in the bracket of the LCK Cup, maybe my perception might be changing. Maybe my perception of like Gen.G will win, but T1 and Online Esports have been improving. But now those teams are gone. This feels like an easy walk, of course. But here's the kicker, guys. We have seen Gen.G choked in bigger situations than this. You all remember 2024 LCK finals in which Honor Life Esports were nowhere the favorites against Gen.G and they collapsed. You saw in 2025 last year when Gen.G were favored against KT Roster, not once but twice in LCK and Worlds, and failed both. This is pretty much the easiest LCK Cup you can win. You can actually win the LCK Cup with your eyes closed. In fact, whoever wins the D plus versus FearX is going to be 3-0 by Gen.G by many analysts. Many analysts, like 95% of the analysts would pick Gen.G in a heartbeat. The only way that Gen.G could lose this series is that Chovy will have a bad series, Keen will have a bad series, Vibe Ruler is playing horribly. It's like Gen.G has to be this horrible to lose. And D plus and or FearX have to play the series of their lives. And don't have to rely on T1's bad drafting or T1 not having a great day or anything else. The only team I can see them stepping up and beat them is probably FearX with Vikla doing well and all kinds of stuff. But even then, I just don't know if Gen.G can ever lose a game to any one of them. If they were to lose a game, maybe let's just say Gen.G lose game one of that series, like, something interesting, something really interesting is going to happen. But I just don't know if that happened. So I think this will be the inevitable Gen.G domination. They will win the LCK Cup. And if that happens, yeah, they're probably favorites to win first stand. Because right now, I don't see any LPL team challenging Gen.G. And I don't see any of the regions, even Europe, can't even challenge them. So if Gen.G wins the LCK Cup, they're probably going to be easy first stand favorites. And if I were to put a poly market figure on my head, which I'm not sponsored by poly market, okay? Just want you to know. I think I will put them in the 85, 90% range right now because they're just so far ahead of everybody else. Now, let's get to the other two regions that I haven't watched as much, but we'll get some questions. With GAM and CFO gone, will the new winner spark life to the league's international competitiveness? Now, if we look at the LCP right now, you can see that Team Secret Wells, a team that last year faced off against GAM, or actually CFO, in last year's split finals, have made it to this split finals. And right now, they are already overwhelming favorites to win because they got the veterancy, they got the leadership, they've been there before. They got Dyer, who is incredible. You got Eddie, who is incredible. By the way, you notice, and by the way, the rosters have been so good. So good. In which, let me just see the roster. They got Hero02, they got Hitso, Dyer, Eddie, and Bai. So I think you can say that most of the players have been to this team before. I think they were there last year when they lost to CFO, of course, in the finals. Now, since CFO have lost so many good players, and GAM are pretty much like losing probably the head of the team, and since both of the teams have been wasted, the question in everybody's minds is if Secret Wells were to win the tournament. Let's just say Secret Wells hypothetically wins the LCP. Many of the people who might be thinking, does the success of the LCP was relying on one team, or does the LCP success have to be like multiple teams competing internationally and doing well? And that is going to be the question that's going to happen in first stand. Because last year was CFO's year by a mile. In fact, I would say that CFO was probably my team of the year based on how they perform in international performances, their incredible wins, their incredible team play, all the kind of stuff. And now that CFO are gone or no longer relevant, the fear of so many LCP fans is that I'm not sure they can ever get back to competitiveness ever again. I'm not sure they can ever be good enough to challenge some of the elite, to challenge like the G2s or the JDGs of the world. And that's going to be a huge test. And I'm not doing this to disrespect, the other teams. The SoftBank Hawks, the Ground Zero, or the Deep Cross Gaming, who, by the way, make a close series against Secret Wells 3-2. It was 2-0 dominated and come back from 2-2, and then they won game 3, of course. Actually, game 5. So I think you could say that there'll be a new face in the first stand hierarchy, of course, in terms of international success for LCP. But the question is, does the LCP be a one-team region, or will any other teams can like step up and challenge them and win series against them? We'll find out the question in Sao Paulo, of course, in a couple of days. But just wanted to know that it's going to be something different in the LCP, which is good for some competitive regions, but fearful consider how last year went, of course. And finally to the CB Low, ladies and gentlemen. Finally to the CB Low, in which I have one big question to say about all of this. Is Loud Gaming back? Now, in case many people do not know, we will have, I think, Furia, of course, a team that I believe they made it to MSI last year. Yes, they made it to MSI last year. Challenged G2. Let's be honest, that was a bad G2 team, of course. But they challenged G2, of course, nearly won that series. And they fell off the cliff, of course, after that. So I'm not saying that Loud are already back, of course, but of course they have to face them on the Saturday and then they have to face the finals on the Sunday, of course. The question is Loud back? Because Loud, for the longest time, has not been great. I mean, we know Loud from like you say 2023, 2024 when they were the most dominant teams in all of CB LOL. And then of course last year with the whole LTA BS, of course, they were not as great. And now the team is looking great again. Although they're gonna lose their mid laner, of course, because for anybody who don't know the story, is that Mango's released from the team after the latter refused to play further games and did not appear at the following day's training session. And it decided that Envy is going to be the new face for the club. So Envy is going to replace Mango. That is wild. And by the way, I think Power Spike did mention about it. Gon and Jamada did mention about this in Power Spike. So yeah, wild. Absolutely wild, of course, in the CB Law Capital. And the question is, does this rattle off Loud? Or will it, you know, make them different or anything like that? Will Envy's presence going to hurt Loud or going to help Loud? Because let's remember, I think if you look at I think Envy has not played any competitive matches yet. Let me just see. Let me just see if I can get this right. So I think Envy's last game, I think it was a substitute, by the way. I think he hasn't played much games since 2023. Um, Let me just see. Oh no, he hasn't played anything since 2025. In fact, he hasn't played any League of Legends competitively since the LTA South 2026 promotion tournament, when this team lost to Alpha 7's Esports. So he hasn't played any Tier 1 competitive League of Legends for a longer while. And after all that chaos, he has been thrust in for not only a playoff game, but for a final! A final! In which, if you win this tournament, you will play a first stand tournament in your home region, in your hometown, in the same arena as the first stand. I mean, yes, I cannot believe Riot decided to put a tournament in a 700 seat capacity because they can't even find a 5,000 seat capacity because they're cheap as heck. But I digress. This is a huge opportunity for Envy, but also I fear for him, man, because to be thrust like this in a huge situation that is not even in your control is going to be dire for him. Now, he could prove me wrong, or it could collapse all on its own, and it could be like a brilliant, brilliant demise in which any of Fury and Canens can actually win this tournament and go to first stand with an incredible losers bracket run. Like Furia just dominated Leviton and then dominated the Lost team that we were all hyping to do well. Like everyone was hyping Don to do well. Consider that Don Dohon and Ackerman looked absolutely incredible, but they got around on Steam, so it is what it is, I guess. But now, Red Cannons, of course, lost to the same Loud team, and they might have a rematch, of course. So the question is Loud back to being, better and competitive? I don't think so. The Loud days from 2022 Worlds, as I remember, of course, with the one like Tion's just buff up and just kill some people. Yeah, I remember that one. It will never happen again. But the question is, are Loud back to dominate the CB Load if they win this tournament? Of course, probably. but not all the way back, of course. They're a long way to go to even be like good enough to be like in the graces of CBLOL fans. They have to win like competitive series first in order to do that. But consider the circumstances, consider the entire situation that has been dealt with, it is going to be dire. Absolute dire, of course. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is all the questions that has been answered, of course. And I think that will end it for me. As a reminder, everybody, that the LEC and the LCS will have. I mean, let me just do the schedule. So, let me just do the schedule for all the most important matches, the matches that is significant. Carmine Corp versus Giant X on Friday, followed by Team Liquid. Actually, no, I'm not. Listen, it will be confusing to you guys. It will be confusing to your brain. But the most important things are all the regional finals except with the LCLPL will be taking place on March 1st. The LPL will have the March 9th one. But we have 5 slots, 5 championships to be crowned, and then the pieces of first 10 will be filled one by one by one. It is going to be the biggest weekend ever and the biggest way to kick off March Madness, which I know is college basketball version, but to us League of Legends fans, March Madness is always going to be that. So, anyways, enjoy the fun, the thrills, and if you're in New York, go to OS New York and meet David Sharnock and say hi for me, of course. Say hi. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe for this whole thing, and I will see you next time. Ciao.